Celebrate your inner Venus evening star. Soul Arts Astrology Communiqué in 5-day Cali, April 4 to 8, 2026. Welcome to the home of my Communiqué and calendar. Times given are Eastern Daylight Time, Greenwich Mean Time -5 hours, unless otherwise noted. Venus emerged from calm seas after Hela storms and in the company of nymphs, breathing, poised, ready for anything. Ooh. When I close my eyes to see Venus aura, I see luminescent peach, soft azures, sparks of rose gold, and the pink at the end of the rainbow. So if you can see a picture, it's got some of those colors in it. I have to say, I took forever to figure out the picture for this one, and I landed on this one from the Brotherhood Studio, and Unsplash licensed the photo use, and it's kind of like abstract, modern, simple art, but I kind of love it, and it's partly because the colors they just match. When I think of Venus, they really match those frequencies. All right, let's keep going. I attended a workshop with Thomas More, author of Care of the Soul, also Soulmates, if you've ever heard of that book. They're both such good books. He's got other books too, like Meditations and, excuse me. Anyway, I read that some years ago and did this workshop with him some years ago. He told me that Venus energy arises when we sit upright, when our hair is clean, and when we wear necklaces. I loved how simple and quirky his answer was. To me, it made perfect sense and caused a skip in my step from then on. This April, Venus is an evening star in early Taurus, one of the two houses she rules. So she'll bless us each night through these intense springtime goings on. The lunar node change in July and eclipse season come late summer. All of the above is a good thing. P.S. Worth noting that Jupiter, god of the sky and weather, exalted in his current abode, Cancer, also provides balance to the burn of so many celestial bodies in Aries, and the activation of Pluto and Uranus as they're aspecting one another approaches a trine or 120-degree separation. Trines are essence of the goddess Harmonia. Her mom was Venus, and guess who her dad was? You'll find out soon. Said partnership seeded in the mid 1960s within Pluto and Uranus conjunctions, three exact ones from 65 to 66. The latter brings to mind world remaking, updating, building, something new and improved. While that may sound chaotic, there are myriad possibilities that the transformational and revolutionary changes may display method within the madness. It follows that this April will be remembered. We are already feeling so much and how. All planets move in direct motion. Mars getting stoked to enter Aries, Mercury too. Once that occurs, they'll conjunct most bodies flying within Aries already. High five Neptune, Saturn, Eris, Chiron. So you've basically got a bunch of celestial bodies already there, and there's a couple who are coming in. So just by the nature of positioning, there's going to be some more conjunctions and the like. So the two bodies will amplify each other in a conjunction, such as a new moon when the sun and the moon come together, which we'll get into in a little bit. Finally, this on-ramp to Uranus entrance into Gemini on April 25th has a super charge to it already. This is why we're remembering April. Moreover, Sedna, the peaceful Arctic warrior, awaits, granddaddy god Uranus in early Gemini. Yeah, it's kind of interesting to me because Uranus basically fathered Saturn and Saturn fathered Jupiter and on and on. So, yeah, we have the generations represented in the movements these days. Whoop, whoop. Okay, let's keep going. Streaming into the future. Then all starts to shift. This is post-April, as per usual. A solstice and a changing of I want to make a quick little thing. A solstice and a changing sorry, my dog, one of my dogs loves to make little funny noises. Okay. Um, so streaming into the future, après April, all starts to shift as per usual, a solstice and a changing of the lunar nodes. Once past midsummer, eclipse season begins its ascent. So yeah, basically the sun gets into the zone where the eclipses can happen because she's got to be lined up with the lunar nodes really for the eclipses to happen. And we will have just changed our nodes then too, which is going to be wild at Aquarius and Leo, if I remember correctly. Okay, by October 3rd, Venus will retrograde and disappear into the heart of our sun. As fate would have it, Venus will emerge again as a morning star, all after her sojourn, as well as ours, into the darkest and brightest places. Thankfully, by November 14th, Venus will station direct and we may emerge renewed. Venus provides the positive pole, the Seraphina for Mars' fiery breath. A lead mare, Venus blazes in Taurus, ahead of the herd of planets and our sun in Aries. She knows Mars, her sometimes lover, well. In myth, they had a whole slew of offspring. Here's where harmony is going to come in. In myth, they had a whole slew of offspring, including Cupid or Cupids, because that very well may be in the plural, depending on whose version of the story you read. So Cupids are little gods of love. Yes, you know them from Valentine's because Cupid shoots a little arrow and then it hits the person and they have to fall in love because that's the deal. Okay, besides the Cupids, Venus and Mars also had Harmonia, goddess of marital resonance and consonance for all. I mean, think of that about that name, Harmonia. Also, Phobos and Deimos, who are representative of fear and terror, respectively. They're twins with freezing on the battlefield archetypes and energies. So we think of all this martial stuff with Mars, also somewhat with Venus too. And Phobos and Deimos are basically embodiments of what a soldier might go through on the battlefield. And total side note, I used to spend a lot of my life rock climbing and I lived in a place where I could do work and climb, and it was called Tuolumne Meadows. It's in Yosemite National Park, and there's a climb called Phobos and Deimos. And if I remember correctly, I climbed it, but I'm forgetting sometimes if I did climb it or not. Whole another story. Okay. As noted, the red planet, less twinkly from the ground, but steadily searing the night sky, Mars, leaves a contrail in Pisces and is expected in Aries on April 9th at 3:36 p.m. Incidentally, I'd call April 9th a good day to proceed with caution in that tensions may run high with said astrological transit, Mars breaking the sign barrier into Aries, with a full house awaiting him and a sign ruled by Mars as well. This is when we pray, Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee, dot, dot, dot. Then again, it's just another day. That is April 9th. But if we know there may be trouble brewing in the hopper, we may plan accordingly. meaning great day to appeal to the better angels of our nature. So if you've followed this column for a little while, you'll probably notice I really like to give people heads up for certain days. That's extremely common in my line of work, but I've personally found it to be essentially like a superpower. If I know a day might be troubling for myself or the world or both, which is typically the case, I will make arrangements and adjustments and adapt and adopt. And usually that's putting my patient hat on, patience as in I can handle things, wait through things, breathe, delay, do the things that sometimes we blow off, but when there's sort of a heightened energy and we're starting to feel a little sixth sense tapping on our shoulder, that's when we say, okay, we got to listen to this. Maybe something that we really need to hear and act on, dot, dot, dot. Okay, let's keep going. I dare say the solar system invites us to strike a balance between our emotional parts and our etheric and rational parts. Knowing what we know when thoughts of aggression and emotion on the anger spectrum fire through our bodies. These are the lower octaves of the God of War. God of War. Sorry, I'm kind of freaked out by war, quite frankly. And we're going to stay on that topic, but slightly shift venues on this topic of war and other things. In the sacred text, the Bhagavad Gita, around chapter 2, verse 20, or text 20, it's sometimes called, Lord Krishna counsels the warrior Arjuna on how to handle fear and create courage. He advises embracing what he was born to do and releasing fear as well as attachment to results. Krishna suggests that if the warrior can see his journey from a zoomed out view, he will attune to his soul and find his courage, as in this translated verse. Quote, this is translated from the Bhagavad Gita. For the soul there is never birth nor death. For the soul there is never birth nor death, nor, having once been, does he ever cease to be. He is unborn, eternal, ever existing, undying, and primeval. He is not slain when the body is slain. Some powerful words. Krishna teaches Arjuna that fighting for justice, gaining knowledge and philosophical insight rather than collapsing into fear or conflicting emotions arouses courage. Astrology and Venus thoughts in the hopper. Methinks Mercury's debut in Taurus on April 14th will be a tipping point. The party, aka the stellium, in Aries, stands to get a bit rowdier. Maybe we can all carry our inner Venus close. Visualize the exalted energy spurring from the moments we care for our bodies, especially our skin, gonads, and dear kidneys. Feast on raspberries, seaweed salads, and sparkling water. Bathe in the waning moonlight, dance in the dawn, sit upright, keep our hair clean, and wear necklaces. Venus loves it when we find truth in our hearts and ground a sky's the limit attitude into our female creativity. Journal prompt for the willing. 13 Venusian orbits brings us within 2 days of 8 Earth years. This is known as a Venus cycle. So if we recall our world in 2018, what insights come to you? Where were you then? How were things unfolding in your worlds? What lessons were you engaged in learning? When you reflect on 2018, what insights flash or find you as daydreams? So yeah, that all bit is, it always depends on when a cycle starts to sort of figure out cycles, but I'm just thinking of Venus now. So if we just subtract 8 years, like what was happening at the beginning of this present time Venus cycle, given that She's in this pretty cool place in rulership in Taurus and really showing off as a beautiful evening star and eventually retrograding and becoming a morning star again. So it's just kind of sweet. All right, let's move on. The saving graces, all this talk of Venus and the martial energies is rounded by counterpoints, e.g., the glorious full moon in Libra we were given on April 1st, Haumea in Scorpio and Makimaki in Libra. Perhaps most gloriously, too, Jupiter's exaltation in Cancer. All of these signatures remind us to choose wisely and to know there's a big ecliptic out there in addition to the sign of Aries. Get ready for Luna in her new phase this April. The upcoming new moon on April 17th at 27 degrees, 28 minutes of Aries, exact at 7:52 a.m., may be a doozy, in part because of the group of planets and our Sun and Luna in Taurus. A tense and yet harmonious frequency may pulse as Pluto in Aquarius trines Sedna in Gemini and sextiles Saturn conjunct-ish with Neptune in Aries as Uranus in Taurus awaits his cue to join Sedna eventually. Lastly, a little after Luna is exactly conjunct with our Sun for a new moon proper, Mercury sextiles Pluto on April 18th at 4:34 p.m. Woof! Count our blessings. Divinity rained upon us during the full moon on April 1st, and the tenderness of the waning crescent that partners with us now. I dare say Venus is powerful, particularly in her sign of rulership, Taurus, a place in which all may become matter on earth. What beauty do you see? Where does your imagination take you when the universe says dream, create? How would you like your phoenix rising from the ashes to appear? What might your phoenix fly towards? All right, so the rest is just a bunch of this and that and the other thing. It's the calendar itself. It's got the overview and the 4 days, April 4th to 8th. I'm going to leave it off the recording because you've got it written. And there's also the option of the robot voice reading it to you. And um, yeah, I really appreciate your stopping by. And it's been a joy to be with you today and tomorrow, if you're listening to this tomorrow and the next day, and yours in carrying the light.